Hi everyone, I am Nature Angel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. If you're returning, welcome back. I have been gone for the week. If you follow me on Instagram, you saw that I was in Greece, but now I am back. It's almost the end of the school year and we are ready to keep rolling. So let's get into it. Today's video is going to be about why we shouldn't always assess the student. You may be wondering, what? We shouldn't? Yes, we shouldn't, because there's so many other ways to help students out, and we shouldn't jump to just trying to label a kid in order to get them the supports that they need. And actually, this video idea was a comment that was left on my previous video, so thank you so much for giving me this idea. And that's what this whole video will be on. So if that interests you, then definitely keep watching. I know in my last list of videos, I think it was the last one, I did about 7 reasons why, but this one is going to be 5 reasons why we shouldn't just jump to assessing students and other things that we can do instead of just trying to label a kid. So the first thing, and I honestly think this is so important, is that we can use research-based interventions. Yeah. So if we can figure out what the kid or the student is having trouble with early on, then we can address these challenges that are made and also make progress. So you're probably wondering, what do I mean by this? If the kid is responding to interventions that we put in place, then they do not need special education services. Let's say there's a kid that's a little behind in their math or their reading, and the teacher or whoever makes the recommendation to test is like, this kid needs special education services in reading, and they need to be labeled as having specific learning disability, when really they just needed a little extra help, and maybe we put in a little reading intervention or a little math intervention, which I'm not going to get into any specific interventions right here because I could do a whole video on that. So we're just going to say we do a reading or a math intervention, and we're keeping track of how the student is progressing over time. And they went, let's say they were getting 20% on their test, to then we keep doing the data, and by the end of it, they're at 80%. We just prove that they can make progress and that they are not in need of special education services. They just need that extra help. And now that they got it, they're on the right track and they're good. They're fine. We don't need to put anything else in place, anything extra. Like, they're doing okay, and we saw that progress being made. So that's something that you can see through intervention. You can see what the issues are and how we can try to address it, and then we see, is progress being made? And if progress is being made, then that is showing that they are capable of learning and that they do not need the special education services. The second thing, which was kind of included in my first thing, is that with the interventions, we get data. So data is important, okay? We can't really do anything without data, and when I don't have anything, and people come to the team, the special education team, and they just want to try to test the kid, but there's no evidence of anything. I'm like, well, what are we working on? You're saying they are performing poorly in your class, but like, do you have test scores? Do we have progress through time from how they started in the beginning of the year to now? That could be state testing, interventions that you tried, just keeping track of their assessments. And then, was there any progress made? There's a lot of information that we need to have. And then, even then, if this is the first time coming to the table, we don't want to jump to, okay, well, you said that and they scored bad, and they just keep scoring bad, so now we're just going to assess again. That's when we go back to step 1 and put the interventions in place to see if there's other things we can do, because we want to try to do everything else that we can before trying to label a kid and give them special education services. I hope this is making sense. The third point that I'm trying to make might make this all make sense, and that is that we want the kids in the least restrictive environment, LRE. This can be done by keeping kids in the general education setting, like in the classroom, because being in the least restrictive environment, what I mean by that in this situation and in this context is that we want the kids to be in general education. We don't want to have to pull them away. We don't want to have to potentially change their curriculum if that's not needed. Because if it's not needed and we put these things in place, we're putting restrictions on the student that aren't needed. It's going to just end up hurting everyone in the end because the kid isn't working up to their true potential. We're using resources, which I will get to later on, but we're using and taking resources where they don't need to be placed. And all of that together is causing more harm than good. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And they think that there can't be harm if you're giving them extra support. And they can be, because we want to keep students in the general education setting as much as we possibly can. I'm not saying that if a kid needs the services that this is bad, but I'm saying if we just say the kid needs services, special education services, and they don't, we are not putting them in the least restrictive environment, and we are not challenging them enough to their full capability. So they're not reaching their full potential. The fourth thing is we want to prevent unnecessary labeling. Labeling a kid can have negative effects in terms of the stigma, but also just in terms of the curriculum that they're working on. This is going along with what I was saying in the last point that I was making of how they're not reaching their true potential if we are labeling the kid as having this disability, needing these certain services. Because if that is simply not true and we didn't do all the other things beforehand to help them, and that's really all they needed, then we are unnecessarily labeling the student. And for why? Why are we doing that? It's not going to help anyone. It's not going to help the teacher that may have made this recommendation because they believe that this might get them out of the classroom. It's not going to help the student who really just needed some interventions put in place so that now they are able to use what they learned in interventions and can continue on, because now it's hindering them. And it's not going to help the parent who has to come to these meetings when they really don't, because their kid actually is okay. And everything that I'm saying, I really did not mean to say this in a negative way. I just want to make a little disclaimer in here because I feel like it could sound negative, and I'm not trying to. There are kids that need these support, and there are kids that are going to be getting these supports under the labels of specific learning disability, other health impairment, and all of these other things. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you are getting services for these help, if you need it, and I hope that I'm making that clear. I just want to throw that in there, that I think that if you need it, yes, good, we have that for you. But if you don't, and if someone's just trying to put kids in special education just to get rid of them, or just whatever their own agenda is, but it's not because the kid needs it, that's where I have a problem with that. The fifth point that I have kind of goes along with that. All of these tie together, but the fifth thing is that we don't want to expend resources where they're not needed. So there's already a shortage of staff in the school. The staff are feeling overloaded. So if we are giving the staff that are here, and they're supposed to have a small caseload because they only work with the students that need to be pulled or work in small group, right? But their small group isn't so small anymore because we just keep saying like, this kid needs it and this kid needs it. And eventually they're overloaded even more than they already are right now. That's gonna cause unnecessary overload for them. Because again, if these kids did not need those services, but we are giving them these services, well, now the people working with them are doing extra work that isn't needed, right? We all have an energy bar. That's what I like to think of it as. We all have like this energy bar and the amount of energy that we can expend. And this is the resources we can use. So if that is the capacity of 20 kids, but we are stretching it to somehow 30, we are now at like a negative 10, right? They'll make it work, but now your energy is at a negative. And we should not be in negative energy. I hope this is making sense. I know I'm using like these weird examples, but that's how it's going to feel to them. They're going to feel overworked, overloaded, and that could lead to more staff shortages because they might leave and just go somewhere else or do a whole other job. Well, now you have one less person, but you still have these kids and now you're putting them on another person. Do you see how if we are just overusing the staff unnecessarily, how it can kind of trickle down and have all these effects on everyone in the whole school and the whole district eventually. So that's what I mean by that. So I hope this video made sense, and I hope that it helped. If you watched the last video that I did, the last sit down video, this does kind of play off of that, because it was on things that I feel like teachers should know. And again, not bashing teachers at all. I think their job is so difficult, and I understand that you can have a difficult child in the class and you don't know what to do. But if we just send all of these kids to get assessed and to get special education services, then these are some of the repercussions that can happen. And this is also why we shouldn't just send them all, because we don't want all of these negative things. So I really hope this video was helpful. I hope it made sense. I feel like it's a hard video to explain, but I tried my best and I tried to do it in a very respectful way. So if you enjoyed, please like this video, and honestly, whatever comments you have, please leave that down below as well. I'm always open to feedback. So I thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye guys.